have you ever had an idea and you wanted to build a company around it and you didn't even know where to start? I'm Maddie Callander, I'm Director of Operations at Boost VC, and I have built an accelerator program that helps individuals in the emerging technology space get companies started. And it's tools and resources and a team of and mentorship and network, and our goal is to help you build a company in the emerging tech space. So this presentation is going to be, it's a security blanket. I needed it to be here to talk with you all. I also told Kim this earlier, like, I know going into a presentation I'm going to sweat profusely no matter how small or big the audience is, and so I dress, just as a speaking tip, like I dress knowing that, so I don't wear silk blouses that are dark jewel tone colors that will immediately show the like spit stain that comes down the side if I like raise my hand and get all energetic and want to talk with you. What other lessons have I learned? Oh yeah, shoes on stage. I think I've only started public speaking in the last year, so I'll also tell you a little bit about that journey. But I always like to wear fun shoes, not ones I will trip in, mostly flats because stairs and stages can be very awkward, but ones that kind of just pop because your feet are kind of awkwardly at people's eye level when you're sitting on a platform, and so I always find it like more interesting. People's shoes are interesting. Random tidbit. So yeah, this is me. I'm a venture capitalist. My background's in art history. My actual work background has been in operation and events. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I have an all-girls high school education, so I think there's something to an all-girls education and how you kind of empower women at that early stage, especially in high school, that I think is super powerful, whether it's like outside of the classroom mentoring women or in the classroom in an all-girls environment where you become more confident and raise your hand more publicly and you don't have the peer pressure of the group in the classroom to kind of hold you back. I can eat tacos every day, and I'm obsessed with musicals. Singing in the Rain is definitely one of my favorites, so I just wanted to kind of lay out a little landscape there. I joined Boost VC in 2015, so I've been there for 3 years. I work with Adam Draper, who's managing director and fourth generation venture capitalist, Brayden Williams, his partner and co-founder, and myself. So I run the ops and work with all of our companies and kind of set up the accelerator program. And we first got started as an everything accelerator, and in 2015, right when I joined, we had become an all Bitcoin accelerator. And Bitcoin was the vocab of the time, so it's evolved. The vocabulary behind cryptocurrency has evolved. It started as Bitcoin, everyone was talking about Bitcoin, and then we went into a blockchain era, and now we're in a crypto era. And so we were a Bitcoin accelerator, and I actually started in the midst of a batch of 25 Bitcoin companies, and that was my first, like day one, I walked in and 25 companies were working in the office, and I was here to run the program for them. And I had known about Bitcoin for about a year and a half, I guess, at that point, and been interested in it and following it. Had no idea how to get involved in it. I actually looked at jobs at Coinbase back then, because I was like, I know I want to do something in this, and I don't really know how or what. And I have an art history background. Like, I've been in events and operations. It didn't make sense for me to get into finance. But I knew I had a couple different turning points, and I'll get into that in a second, but where I knew that finance and wealth creation and figuring out how to get into the sector where you're adding value to the world by creating wealth for others and teams and companies was kind of the journey that I wanted to go on. So since we started, we're 5 years old, we've made 240 investments. Our companies have raised close to $300 million in the standard fundraising space, but with ICOs, our total jumps to $1 billion, which is really nuts. And we invest heavily in international companies, so in companies from all over the world. Oops. Accelerator program, if you don't know what it is, we have a campus. We provide both housing and office space. We invest actual money into the companies. We provide a network of venture capitalists, founders, mentors in our network, and we also provide strategic and corporate relationships for the companies as they're getting started. And really, the point of an accelerator is to hold you accountable to growth. So you get 3 months to focus on your company, And that's 3 months that you have us saying, what does the next step look like? What are you going to do about it this week? What didn't work? How can we help? And how can your peer and network, like the group, how can the whole group help you solve the problems that you're facing? Because someone here has faced it, especially if you're in a batch of 25 Bitcoin companies. Someone's dealt with this problem already. Like, don't waste your time relearning how to fix it and pretending like you need to teach yourself. Like, use someone else's advice. This is us. So this is where like the imposter syndrome comes in, and I'm going to talk a lot about that. I've worked with 120 companies now. Like it kind of is like crazy to me that in 2.5 years of working here, I've worked with so many people and so many founders. And it's only been hitting me in the last like 3 months that I've had this experience, and that as I'm talking to founders and I'm giving advice and learning to share my experiences, I'm able to be like, oh, I've seen that 5 times. Like, oh, I've seen this happen over here and it didn't work. Like, here's how I can point you in a little, like just push you a little, look this way and like figure it out over here. So it's been a super fascinating experience, but it's really only hit me because I've been so heads down in the last 2.5 years that I have this knowledge and that I really want to share it, and I really want to share it with women. So I think that's the key for me, where I was like, I just realized that this is like super powerful information, and women aren't getting it all, and I want to be able to share it. So blockchain is still kind of the umbrella of what we've invested in, but we also invest in virtual reality, augmented reality, and then kind of this sci-fi bucket. And I'm just throwing these out there just so that our overall thesis is we're making sci-fi a reality. Future of currency is going to be something digital in this cryptocurrency space. The future of computing, we're going to move away from computers and mobile phones, and we're going to have augmented reality glasses. We're going to be working in VR, jumping into telecommunications like a Skype call in VR, where we're actually physically present with people. I play in VR almost every day. I have a VR rig at home. Like, I'm totally obsessed. We can totally talk about VR at any point in time, but we're talking about Bitcoin and stuff today. So,
is it a Vive or an Oculus?
Yeah, the what?
Is it a Vive or an Oculus?
I have a Vive. Yeah. I also love the Oculus though. So, yeah. Something that's missing in all of these industries is women. I run our recruiting process. I look at every application that we get. And we have marketing issues, and we are working on that too, but I'm just not seeing enough women starting companies in general. And that's just a fad or a theme that is consistent. And so part of what I wanted to talk to you about today was just kind of like where I'm at and the pieces that I'm seeing in the process of what's missing. And kind of my thesis on like why it's missing, I guess. So I like to show this because when you graduate from college with an art history degree, everyone is like, what are you going to do with that degree? So what are you doing after college? Have you gotten a job yet? Like, what are you going to do? And the options with an art history degree are you're going to go be a teacher and teach art history. You're going to get a master's or a PhD. You're going to go back to school. Like, I don't know. I went into college to be a doctor, and I came out with an art history degree, so like it didn't make sense to begin with. And I've always felt the pressure of this very straight trajectory and story about where you've been and where you're going. And I hate it so much. And I fought it for a very long time, where I was like, ugh, everyone wants me to follow this path and this line and check these boxes. And we were talking about boxes earlier, like checking kind of when you're introducing yourself, and I've done it at events where you walk up and you're like, okay, I don't want to talk to you, so I'm just going to check a box and walk away. But our brains don't know how to process people. Like, our brains don't know how to put you, like, our brains want to process us and put us in boxes so we can categorize you as like a threat, a person who isn't going to harm me, and like someone I could be friends with. I think that when we are in networking scenarios, these boxes become even more like awkward and hard to explain. And you're like, but I'm not just finance, I'm art history, and I have this passion over here, and like you want to be able to explain it all. So to your point earlier, I'm really glad that we did that, because I have not heard that switch around on the, hey, my name is Maddie Callander thing, and I loved that, because I think you're able to kind of jump into the, I'm not going to check the box you want me to check right now, buddy, but like, if you're interested, then we can keep talking. this was my career path so far. So, I'm going to be a doctor, art history degree, got my real estate license, started basically mini airlines in Montana for the real estate company, moved into end-of-life healthcare, did a bunch of event planning on the side, was basically doing small business consulting for female founders who wanted to get back into the workspace, who had phenomenal careers pre-children and then had taken 18 years off for children and didn't know how to pick up technology. And so I just basically would set up like Google Suite and accounting and just kind of give them the fundamentals of how they can get started again. And then jumped into these kind of crazy worlds of Bitcoin and VR, and now I'm over in venture capital, but it has not been a direct path at all. And so I think my thesis for this is that I have been totally and completely insecure along this path the entire friggin' way. And this is what the path actually looks like, is imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not smart enough, I'm not curious enough, I don't know enough, I don't have an MBA, I don't have enough experience, I'm not organized enough, I don't know enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not enough. Like, ultimately, like, this entire journey has been like, I'm not enough, and I'm a freaking imposter, and this sucks. And I think about women starting companies, and I think about what how I've even gotten here and the work that it's taken both like mentally and to like coach myself over these I am not enough hurdles to get here. And it is so hard, and it totally sucks. And I think women in general are at a disadvantage because we don't have just that like balls to the wall like confidence where I'm just gonna throw myself off a cliff and hopefully I don't die. Like that just doesn't happen. I'm like, that's a cliff. We're clearly gonna injure ourselves. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, that's scary. I don't know why that makes sense to so many of you. That's a terrifying idea. I don't want to jump off a cliff. So I guess I don't even remember what I put next, but like this was kind of this has been my career, and this has been my career path, and these have been the things that I've been trying to overcome every step of the way. And I think everyone, I don't know if everyone here can relate, but like, I just, every conversation I have now with women starting companies, really digging into like why they're doing it or how they're going about it, I always am uncovering this like fear of not being enough, and fear of failing, but also fear of just like, I don't know enough about the space, I can't start a company. I don't know how to start a company. I don't know how to, or even in just like mentoring, I don't know how to get to that next level. I don't know how to ask for what I want. I don't know that I'm worth what I want, the amount that I want to ask for. And just being able to kind of like make those leaps and take it forward. This has been the major theme. Yeah. Enough already. So I guess my conversation, and this can be a much more open dialogue, was just like, when is enough enough? Like, when in this process of finding ourselves, finding our career paths, finding what we want to do, and going and building things, is enough going to be enough? And I think that's kind of the challenge and the hurdle and the things I've faced in my career is like, all right, Maddie, enough's enough. Like, ask for what you want. All right, Maddie, enough's enough. Like, just go do it. And I've had this kind of fake it till you make it, which I kind of hate that, but I love it, and I don't know how I feel about it. Where it's like, all right, I'm gonna walk in the conference room right now because I know I wanna be in this conversation, but I'm 10 minutes late because I had to do something else, and I know that if I miss this, I'm not gonna feel confident enough to go into the next one, so I'm just gonna walk in even though the conversation's already started and sit down and be a part of this conversation. And I've had those like kind of gut-wrenching conversations with myself where it's like, Maddie, you're doing this, you're walking in right now, like don't turn around and go back. My sister's here too. Okay, go. And there was someone who said, and I can't remember her name, and I should know who I quote, but she had this countdown where like when you know you need to do something, and you know it has to happen, but you're just fighting that fear and that anxiety over like the fact that you just gotta go do it. You do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then you just like go. And for some reason that like 5-second countdown or that 5-thing countdown, it's like, all right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I guess I gotta go. Like here I go. But yeah. So I just want to say to you all that you all are enough. I'm enough today, right now, in this moment. Like being here, speaking publicly, which has been a journey in its own right for me. That I am enough right now. So I think, oh yeah, and then the last thing is, especially in the crypto space, you don't need to know the answer. Like, no one knows the answer. This is like an nuts time to be in this space. Like, no one knows. And everyone says they know. They don't know anything. And it's like, I'm blown away by the conversations that are being had on panels and the the pitches that we're getting. And I'm questioning them, and they're like, why are you questioning me? I know what I'm talking about. I'm like, you don't. Like, this is insane. Like, this makes no sense. But we're in a crazy world right now, and so everything apparently makes sense. But in 12 months, everyone's been like, none of that made sense. Did you guys just see that? Like, none of it made sense. Like, I don't know. But you don't need to know the answer before you begin, because no one else does. Like, no one else knows the answer. And so whatever you're doing, however you're doing it, whatever your dreams are, whatever you want to be doing, like, you should definitely just go do it, because you know more than the person next to you. You know more, if you've even thought about it for a hot second, you know more than half of these ICOs right now. Like, you know a ton about this industry. And I think that's been a journey for me in the crypto space right now, is that I've been in it since 2013. Like, I know a ton about this industry. And I see these panels and these conversations, and I'm like, I don't know anything. I can't go on. I can't do that. And it's just this like very nutty conversation of what's happening right now, where like, you definitely know stuff about it, and you should definitely be speaking and standing up and talking about it. So this is my, so I first gave my first keynote speech last year, and I wanted to do a public speaking. I wanted to try to public speak, and I was again so nervous. And it was I was really, really honored to do it. I got invited to a Community College Honor Society of California to be their keynote speaker, and I was like, goosebumps, like this is great, this is like incredibly powerful, both to be like speaking at the community college level to the honors of the kids that are like really trying hard to like make it and do good work in the community college environment. And so kind of ended with this note that whatever it is you're interested in, whether it's Bitcoin or crypto, or if like you're in this field right now because it pays you a ton of money but it's not actually what you're interested in, get curious about whatever it is that you actually care about. I just started writing about things. I would Google them. You can read about it, listen to a podcast, watch a documentary, and then there's like this moment where you've done like 3 of those 5 top things, and then you like kind of will drop it in a conversation. And I remember doing this a couple times with a couple different things. I was usually like, so like, hey, blockchain. And then it would be like other people would start talking, and I wouldn't have to actually say anything. Just kind of like be like, virtual reality. And then the whole conversation would go, and everyone had opinions, and so once I kind of like had dropped like those seeds a couple of times in conversations, I was like, okay, I could talk about this. So what do you think about virtual reality? Like, what do you think about blockchain? Like, I have an opinion of this stance. What do you think? And then explaining it to someone. So like, when you go home for Christmas or Thanksgiving and you have to like try to explain this to your parents, like what you're doing and why you're doing it, using it in a conversation, and then speaking about it, and then eventually like everyone is starting to actually do something about it. But it takes this kind of like courage to get to a point where you've spoken about it, you've been thinking about it. Sometimes you can't like it takes over your brain. You're like, I have to continue to think about this idea or this topic, and I can't let it go. And then I think there's a rinse and repeat action here, because like the next week it might be female empowerment, or the next week it might be how do we change the world through Uber puppies, and how do we, like, it just could be anything. And I think that this is really big. But actually, Kim brought up a really great point earlier about vocabulary, to go back to like the slide where I had all the different random careers. Once I got to healthcare, I realized that any industry you wanted to move into, as long as you like could figure out the vocab, you could be a part of the conversation, because the conversations are all the exact same. The words and the acronyms change, but all the conversations are exactly the same. And so when I got into, when I started working with Boost for the first time, the number of acronyms and the number of things I Googled after I would sit in on a conversation, I'd be like, totally, yes. And then I'd be writing down acronyms. And then I would go Google them later, and then I would like go back and be like, oh, so about that, I don't even know what one is right now, but like about that thing, And then I would be like, oh, she knows what we're talking about. Like, it took a while, but it was like a much easier thing to do than I thought. And so if there's something you're interested in that you're not already doing, look, once you have kind of the basic vocab down, it's so easy to just start having conversations in it. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Go. Yes.
I just Googled ICO.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes.
Did anybody else not know what an ICO was?
What is it?
Tell us, Jackie.
Initial coin offering.
Yes.
I just Googled it, I have no idea, see?
And now you sound so much smarter than the guy
Oh.
that called it.
Or the guy who called it an ICO.
I know what they call it,
ICO, it's not an ICO.
I just Googled it, right
Do you mind if I unplug this so that it's not break?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
ICOs, yeah.
It's an
It's
immediate
like,
invitation.
yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Woo! Good. Q&A. Stay
Oh,
there.
Q&A,
Q&A.
okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just curious about ICOs.
Yeah.
In your perspective, how do they come about and how do they, what makes a successful ICO?
Ooh.
By successful, I don't mean like very profitable, I mean like how does, like what's an ICO that would like make impact and like what
Yeah.
makes a good ICO?
Yeah. I mean, a useful utility for like why you're doing an ICO, I think is a big part of it. Like, why does this need to exist? If it's just purely for fundraising, then that's great, but you should be upfront about it, I think. And don't try. I think that I don't know the answer to this. There are probably more qualified people who are going to talk about it, but I think right now we're seeing. I think the whole premise of an ICO is really beautiful, like the fact that you can basically get rid of venture capital. So I could say, hey, I'm going to build something and be able to get all of you to crowdfund and pay for my like upfront costs to get this company started, is really incredible. Like, I think that nonprofits and schools and different things in the long run are going to be very impacted by this. I think right now it's being used to raise too much money for no products and no real use cases for a lot of the products, and the products are not going to exist for a very long time because there's so much runway. Like, there's so much money that is going to need to be spent before any company can die in this ecosystem, that you're just going to prolong. This is going to be like a long death process of companies. Whereas companies right now in the startup space die quickly. Like, you spend your money, you're growing, you're marketing, you're pushing, you do everything you can to get a product market fit and make some customer very happy, and then you say, hey, like, venture capitalists, I just made a customer super happy, so happy that I got 100 more customers on board. I need more money to go prove this out and like show this model, show this product to a ton more people. And the opposite is going to kind of happen because they're not going to need more money and they're not going to be having anyone. The networks will hold them accountable in theory, but they're not going to have anyone kind of to fall back on as a resource. I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how it evolves because I think networks have both positive and negative effects. So if people don't like the fact that you don't have a product, it could be interesting. So yeah.
Quick question. Okay, so it's difficult enough to navigate your way in terms of becoming knowledgeable in this whole realm, but how are you learning about the regulations on the SEC is stepping in, starting to have like a say on top of that?
Me personally, I'm
Yeah. Okay.
not. Yeah.
Just wondering.
Yeah.
There's some really good podcasts that are trying to do some
Yeah.
interesting things. I think right now nobody knows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for like not having a fintech or attorney legal background, like that's been probably like one of the biggest challenges that, like, oh shit.
And I think finding trusted humans in those spaces to be that you truly can trust is a very big piece of what is going to make you successful in this ecosystem right now. To find a legal counsel and to find a bank account and people that are going to really like take care of you in that process. But there's also a lot of new lawyers in the space right now.
How much do they know? But
Okay.
Yeah.
anyway, so I have two questions. One is, so, you know, this is an open, it's been around for a while, but so many people are getting into it. Where is the best place to go to even start learning about the ICOs and the blockchains?
Yeah.
Where is, other than just Googling blockchains and...
I have a draft of a Medium post about this because There's so many cool resources, and there's so many great women talking about this stuff in the space too that are putting together. I think Linda C maybe has an incredible Zay. Sorry, thank you. XIE. Shay.
Oh yeah, she has a really good
She has
list.
incredible lists of
It's
like
good.
what is Ethereum, and then breaking it down. What is Ethereum versus this token layer on top of it, token protocol. She has incredible resources. And I just want to be able to curate that so I can send it to people because she has some really good stuff. There are a couple of other pieces that I sent around to people. Medium's a great place for it. Twitter, I would follow a couple of the leaders in the space. I always find Vitalik super interesting as he tweets, who's the founder of Ethereum, the creator of Ethereum. Coinbase people are always very interesting on Twitter as well and providing resources.
There's Jameson Lopp. He has the Bible of resources.
Yeah,
He's a dude. He's not a woman, unfortunately. But this guy literally has aggregated every type of resource for.
I found Facebook groups to be super helpful too.
Facebook
actually.
groups?
Like, there's like a woman in crypto one, and like a crypto goddesses. Don't know the name. Really good.
Yeah.
Awesome resources, super helpful, knowledgeable people who always like respond like instantly.
yeah.
And my second question is, what girls' school did you go to?
I went to Santa Catalina in Monterey. It's an all-girls Catholic school. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's good. No, I was like, I went to a Catholic girls' school too. So.
Yeah.
Yay, we're like snaps.
Yeah.
I have a question, but can we not film?
I'm not filming you. She gave me permission to film her.
Oh, okay, I just want to ask
Oh.
a question that's not filmed.
Oh, okay.
Oh, if
Yeah.
Yeah.
but only your voice will be recorded.